Greetings, 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 everyone, and welcome to another podcast edition of Create Yourself Imagery, Intimacy, Innovation, a place where people from all walks of life and various backgrounds come together to share their transformative personal and professional stories of restoration, confidence, clarity, education, and empowerment. They are here to share their helpful tools, resources, and affirming guidance. I'm Joyce Kyles, your global speaker, author, trainer, facilitator, and coach. And if you're ready to transition, transform, and thrive, this is indeed the podcast for you. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. And as always, we say tell a friend and tell two more friends to join us in our conversations. If you are a returning listener, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you back. And the same applies to you. Please be sure to share with this podcast with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and all who can use an encouraging, insightful word to transition, transform, and thrive. Now, you all know, especially those of you who have been listening to me for a while, you know that I am always excited about my guests. Always, always, always. They are chosen intentionally and by design. I am so excited about my guests. Today, I have not actually physically seen her now in quite some time, but I know that she has a wealth of knowledge and tools and insights and information that you all need to hear. And I will say that she has definitely poured into me in ways that she may not even realize, which is one of the reasons that I definitely wanted to have her on the show. You know, for several years, I and my husband were caregivers, and that is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. We're also going to talk about what she's doing presently in her consulting work. So again, transition, transform, and thrive. What does that look like? And she's here to talk about it and share it. I tell you all, if you have the opportunity to meet Janice Williams in person, please make it your business to do so if you are in the Memphis area. But if not, definitely connect with her online. So I'm just going to tell you all to read through the bio, which is located at the bottom of our podcast today. But I will share with you that she is a registered and faith community nurse. And I love that faith community nurse. You know, we always hear RNs, but not faith community. So this year she is celebrating her 30th year in nursing and 15th year working with family caregivers. So I just, again, you can read the bottom, but we're going to just jump right on in because I could just go on and on and on about Miss Janice. So, Janice Williams, welcome to the show today.
Wow. Thank you. That was a great intro. It made me sound so good. And thank you for that.
Oh no, I am only speaking truth. So if it made you sound good, that's because it is good in you, over you, about you, and through you. That is what I know, and I have known this for years. You know, one beautiful thing, before we get into the questions, of course, you know, one of the beautiful things about meeting certain people like yourself, that we don't have to see each other every day or be around each other every day, but the words and the impact that you've had on myself and my husband, in the work that you've done. I've read things, I've followed things, I've checked out, you know, videos or other people when you've hosted events. So when I say you've been pouring into me, even if you don't know that you've been pouring into me, so I know that the listening audience will be able to fully glean from what you have to share today. So I just mean it from my heart. So thank you so much for being who you are.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
So, with that being said, let's jump right on into these questions, shall we? So, take us on your create yourself journey. What made you decide that this was the right path for you?
Well, thank you again. I'm still cheesing here. People can't see me, but I am so excited about the great things that you shared. Those are the things that you can't really put in a bio. You said that something that I've done helped you, excuse me. Something that I've done helped you. And I was like, wow. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, Wow. Because, if you kind of overthink things, you'll think that you haven't really done enough. And so me, I presently am a caregiving consultant, but I started working with family caregivers about 15 years ago, and I would say November the 8th is going to be 16 years, and I'm going to have a party. But so I started working with family caregivers 15 years ago because of my father. My father got sick and he went through so many levels of care overnight. It really threw my family for a loop. I mean, I had been a nurse for a while, yes, but I really wasn't prepared to care for him. And I always share that. And when I think about it, and I really wasn't, because nursing is, to me, is totally different than caregiving, family caregiving. So I jumped out of nurse role into caregiver role to take care of my family and I. And so we went through so many difficulties with that the Lord spoke to me, and after my dad passed, he got my attention to start working with family caregivers. And here I am today. And I look back over that, um, case in point, we just had a conference the other day, and I started crying, Miss Cowles, because I remember so clearly taking care of him. And so God got my attention, and I started a nonprofit called Caregivers Respite, which I have since transitioned from. But in that, we did 18 conferences, over 50 to 60 other events dealing with family caregiving. And I personally facilitated over 150 support group meetings over that time. And let me just tell you, it has been phenomenal for me. I got a chance to meet a lot of great people. I got a chance to heal, but I haven't forgotten. I hadn't forgotten what it looks like for a family to actually have to care for their loved one. Even until last Monday, we had an event, and I did start crying because I have never forgotten that, and I never want to forget it, because the empathy helps me to keep making sure that I make sure that people get what they need. And it has been the most rewarding time and rewarding life. Like, really making sure that people get what they need is key. So I'm excited. You mentioned that I was a faith community nurse and also a nurse. And I'm going to be honest with you, I pull on every bit of training, understanding, uh, just everything to make sure people are okay. Because in this caregiving journey, this walk, it's just not one way. And I really tend to kind of pivot, or not really focus on people or entities that like to do things one way. Family caregivers are multidimensional. They need different things. That caregiving journey might not look like yours, but you have to still be supported. And how exciting! I'm getting happy myself, but 16 years is November, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
I love that. I love that. Several things that you brought up that I feel are definitely important to highlight. And one of them being one of the first things that you said, that being a nurse is one component, and then caregiving for you showed up in a very different way. Sometimes I think that we societally so, think that because we have a certain degree or that we have learned how to do a particular skill, that it always just shows up or should show up the same way in every situation. And we can show up for other people in different ways than when it hits home a little bit for us. That's a different situation. And when you are talking about a parent, someone who's raised you, and now you having to pivot and take what you've learned, but apply it in a very, very human and vulnerable way. Um,
Absolutely.
it hits differently. It hits
It
differently.
does. Because
Yeah.
you're really not trained for that in school. That family caregiving encompasses so many skill sets. You have to be the best advocate. You have to be the best physical therapist. You have to be the best financial planner. You have to be a good negotiator. You have to be able to be a good historian. And the list goes on.
Hmm.
And you really facing something that you really have no training on. And besides that, family caregivers give away millions of dollars of unpaid care. But this is the only job that you don't get a break on. You don't get the 15-minute. You just get maybe some support here and there, and you may also get some drama here and there, depending on what's what, who's helping you, who's not, all of that. And I just briefly said that, but I don't focus on that. I don't let even my family caregivers or anybody I've consulted or anybody I have met over the years focus on what they don't have. It's all about what you can create. And what family caregivers need to know is that they're the first responder and they can make it. Get this now. This is my signature. If you don't get a break, you can't make it. But if you get a break, you can make it. And the break is called respite. I
Mm.
remember where I was when I first heard that word, because just being a nurse didn't guarantee you that you knew what respite means. It's plenty of people don't know what respite means. I was working late one day, and I had a patient that was on inpatient hospice, and the uh, the hospice agency nurse came up and said, "Yes, that's my patient." And who was my patient? And she said, yes, the family sent the person here for respite. I said, well, what is respite? And she told me. And ever since I heard that word, it was like amazing to me because it represented so much. And it represents so much now that family caregivers don't even know that they are due a break. Now, you might not have access to it, which is a whole different other story. But respite is a break for a family caregiver. How about that?
Right. I
Yes.
received that. And I think that's a good way to segue into what you do as a consultant in this
Yes.
space. So please tell our listening audience, what you do in that space, how you show up, what services you offer, and how that ties into this whole thing around needing a break and having
Yes.
access to it.
Well, I would say this. The first, over 10 years, I founded Caregivers Respite, and it was about that. It was about us giving family caregivers an unconventional break. And what I mean by unconventional is that um, the agencies, as I mentioned, hospice and other agencies will come in and take care of your loved one. Those professional, those formal caregivers will come in and take care of your loved one while you, the informal person, the caregiver, family caregiver, gets a break. And so we felt like we can give family caregivers a break, and that's what Caregivers Respite was. But I really can tell you with all honesty on the statement that I'm about to make, but Caregivers Respite really is me because um I know no matter where I am, family caregivers need a break. Whatever the name is, it goes with it. It is what it is. But if you're a family caregiver, you get a break. So since then, I've pivoted to more consulting. And in consulting, one of the ways we always give back, our agency gives back a day of respite. At first, we used to call it the Caregivers Rest Conference, but now it's a day of respite. And it's specific. And, um, you know, I need to do a better job of saying caregiving and respite go together. But I'm very specific because you need to know that word, and we need to help you know what that word is if you're caring for your loved one. Respite means a break, and it goes along with the duties that you do every day for that family caregiver. And so I work, the name of my business is JOW Consulting, and I'm going to tell you, over the past 15 years, um, I know what I've seen, um, what we're focusing on now is making sure people get the things that they need literally to care for their loved one. But what I understand now is that we are doing it out of reaction. And so I'm tired of seeing that. And so that's why I pivoted, because what we have to do is, instead of um, just working with family caregivers, I'm working with people, because what we can do now, if we learn how to care plan, then we can become more proactive instead of reactive, and we can have the things that we need. I have met thousands, I mean hundreds of people, but I can't say it's always that they have the things that we need, that they need to care for a loved one. And when you see so much of that, you either gonna get tired or mad. And actually, I'm taking that energy and making sure that I create a space that people can learn about how to care. And so that is more than anything to me, because you said this is about transforming, this is about pivoting, this is about moving from one step to another step. This is the greatest step for me, because now I can meet people, whether they're caregiving or not, and see and help them with planning, because planning doesn't mean, Miss Kyles, oh, you're going to be this and you're going to be that and you're not going to have this. No, we're not even focusing on that. We're focusing on planning for care and making sure you have the things in line of what you need. Guess what? Before you need it, which is the total difference than waiting years and years and years of just overlooking this component of life. We do have to prepare our loved ones to transition, but we got to make sure we have something for the living too.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So good. Well, we could almost just close out the podcast with that. I have a couple of more questions for you before we wrap
Absolutely.
up, but that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
so good. And I love the fact that you talk about a care plan and that you are focused on people. People, this is so important. We tend to, like you said, be reactive, and we don't always plan for the future. So when something does happen to a loved one, we're not ready. And I love what you're sharing when it comes to a care plan, because not only is it being reactive if it happens to someone else, but what if it becomes you? What if you
Absolutely.
are the person?
Can
And
I
what
just
does
tell
that
you
look
this?
like? Oh, yes,
Let me just
absolutely.
tell you just something with that because you mentioned a great point. Our children are only going to go on what we set up. And what I mean by that is we always saying, "Oh, I don't want my son, I don't want my daughter to have to care for me." Well, you're gonna have to prove that to me because that when you make that statement, it means work. It means doing something on the front end. When you make the statement to me, "Oh, I ain't gonna put you in a nursing home," well, you're gonna have to prove that to me. What that means is a person has to be proactive on a lot of different things. And so I'm just not interested in letting people or not following through with the conversation on really what that takes because it takes more than just saying it. It takes money, it takes planning, it takes strategy, it takes um a conversation. And let me tell you this, my dad, I never forget it. He was sick and we were caring for him. And I just asked him, I said, "Well, Dad," I said, "Dad, how do you want us to care for you?" And he looked at me and he said, "I don't." He said, "Because I'm gonna beat this thing." And I thought, like, what? And at that point, it was just a couple months later, he was gone, but he was very self-sufficient. He took care of himself. He didn't ever need anything. He was just living his life. But what I was asking him was something he could not answer because he didn't know himself. He probably could tell me this is what I want for death, but I was asking him, how do you want to be living from now on? And so I want people to know having a hard conversation opens up the door. It doesn't replace the work that you have to do, but if you have a hard conversation, you can begin to put together something, and then guess what? You might need to have another one. But what I was asking him, I didn't even really know at the time. But I know now, and I can lead people in such a way that we can have those conversations, plus put some things together to at least have something in place that will help your child, your loved one, your husband make the decisions that they need to make as they transition to your caregiver or other things. I mean, now is the time for us to be better aware. And so we do the Women Who Care Bootcamp, which is not just for women, it's for families, it's for men. And the boot camp is centered around care planning and understanding the next steps. Not the next steps for everybody. Everybody's plan is not going to look the same. And so what we're doing is amazing, it's magnificent because it empowers people uh, to make some great decisions. Hard decisions, but great ones.
I love that. And I am very familiar with the boot camp and know a couple of folks who have gone through it already.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I definitely encourage individuals, please, please, please make sure that if your time and schedule permit, that you take advantage of it whenever it's being offered. Also, again, knowing that she has her JOW Consulting business, so we want definitely to uplift that in your coaching. You do have events. I know you just had one that passed, and I also know that you're an author. So many ways that people can connect with you. So
Yes,
as we
ma'am.
get ready to wind down, you have shared, first of all, you've shared some amazing nuggets throughout. So I'm going to ask you two things.
Mhm.
One, if you would, any other tools, resources, words of encouragement, ways to, fully connect with you, which is listed at the bottom, but everybody has their own, please connect with me more on LinkedIn or go to my website or, whatever is the best way to stay communicating with you. So my two questions are your comments, your words of encouragement, your tools, your resources, anything more about the business that you would want us to know, and the best ways to communicate with you.
Well, as far as business standpoint, I don't want you to wait before you do something. So you can reach me. I do consultations all day long. Um, so you can reach me at my website. It's Janice-Williams. It has to have the dash in there. Janice-Williams.com, and you can go to the services tab if you want to make an appointment. I'm more than happy to talk to you. Sometimes it just takes a little direction, or sometimes it takes a lot. And so, if you are caring for somebody, or if you got an aging parent, or just don't really understand how things connect for yourself, you can go on JaniceWilliams.com. I do have a Facebook page, and it is Janice Williams RN. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, and I believe it's just Janice Williams. And either way, if you come to my website and book an appointment, I think it'll just be great strategy on just some next steps. And lastly, if you are caring for your loved one or will be caring, I'm just going to invite you to get my book. It's on Amazon, and it's called Caregiving and Understanding Respite. And it's by Janice Williams RN. And so all those places that you can contact me or get some insight.
I am so thankful to you for all that you have shared with us today. And listening audience, as you know, if you clicked on this to listen, if you look below, you will see her fantabulous bio as well as all of the ways to connect with her. But I always love to have my audience, I mean my guests, to share in their own words about their services and how to connect and best ways to connect. So they're all listed below. I thank you so very
Thank you.
much. Oh, the gems you shared with us today, they are timeless, timeless, timeless. And so I'm so glad that you said yes to us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to our listening audience, thank you for tuning in because you know I could not do this without you. So until next time, go forward and create the life that you desire and deserve. And remember that you can do so at any age. Let's continue to transition, transform, and thrive together.